Aquarians, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is going to be for February 22nd through the 28th of 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology, very different from mainstream astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to click the link for more information. All right, Aquarius, so this week we've got a full moon right on Monday, illuminating essentially your 7th house of relationships. So this is a high point now, specifically if over the past 6 months you've maybe started some new relationships or you've had a new relationship shift or perspective since then. This can be the high point, a culmination of these kinds of areas of life. So it could be legal matters for some of you, it could be business dealings, could be that kind of partnership. It's all kinds of one-to-one relations. So with this, it's a very spiritual full moon because it is going to be opposing up to Neptune, who's in your first house. And happy birthday for those of you Aquarians who have your birthday this week, who are watching for your sun sign. But here with this, there's this spirituality that's really been coming into your identity, with yourself, and perhaps not knowing exactly who you are, where you're going sometimes with Neptune, because it tends to blur the lines. But the key with this is that the more willing you are to have that faith and trust, to especially along the life path, because the first house is all about that initial life journey, right? It's going to help balance things out, especially with your identity, because there's a lot of spiritual energy coming in about your identity and insight about your identity, but not necessarily in that practical or conceptual sense, right? It's understanding that, of course, we are much larger than anything our minds can perceive, and conceptualize, and it's accessing that on that spiritual level. So as you might imagine, this opposition is about balancing essentially the relationship stuff, which is coming to a high point. It is perhaps some insight. There's a lot of energy for it. More than likely, it's a great early part of the week, in fact, for all one-to-one connections. But then understanding that there's, of course, this self, and the self is being spiritualized. And what I mean by that is that you are accessing the greater part of the self through surrender, through realizing that you're so much more, and that just by going with the flow, it allows that unique true self of yours to come through. So that's a great balancing point, really seeing too that there's really no difference between others and yourself. We're all very similar, and focusing on that similarity, focusing, I think, too, on that concern, bringing in the Neptune into it, the concern, the sensitivity, the compassion, can really go a long ways with this. Now, it is a week of insight. Here on Tuesday, we are going to have Jupiter opposing up to Chiron. A lot of these insights coming in. With this one, this is the second aspect with this. It's been going on since early November, and it's been healing specifically with your view and your outlook on relationships. Jupiter in that 7th house. Maybe even your view of the financial material stuff, maybe even groups and friends also, since Jupiter rules those sectors. But on a general sense, it's your outlook on relationships. So it's about going within. Jupiter's retrograde. A lot of the relationship stuff too, in some level, is sort of, being reflected on. It's sort of internalized at the moment. So going within, the second aspect is all about learning. And I think the more you're learning and the more you're open to learning about how you perceive relationships, that's just going to allow that energy to flow very naturally, and that healing will just take place very naturally. And then through that, it could even feel like a healing of self in many ways going into the rest of the week. Now, on Wednesday and Thursday, Mercury is going to be sextiling up to Saturn. So on a perhaps more personal note in terms of you, Saturn, your ruler, is going to have this Mercury energy. So you guys could be feeling perhaps communicative. Maybe you could be feeling like doing some writing, reading, sharing information, that kind of stuff this middle part of the week, which can be great. Maybe it's in the work sphere, because there's been a lot of attention, I think, lately this past year or so with your career or your legacy or your productive areas of life, which can be grounded quite well this week, I would say, with this. Now, a lot of things are very behind the scenes for you still. There's a lot of this 12th house activity. You've got Mercury here, so I think you're understanding more about yourself in that deeper level, and you can enjoy these things too, whether it's meditation, any type of spiritual activity, rest. All this can be quite nice with Venus in the 12th. So this Wednesday time period could be grounded in terms of that spiritual stuff also. Maybe even your self-expression and those deeper aspects of life, since Mercury rules those areas. Now, as we go into the weekend, Mercury will then sextile up to Uranus. So this is some new and exciting, different, it's a quite common transit, but it's great to be open to change. And this can be very liberating, in fact, some spiritual liberation maybe, since Mercury is in your 12th. Maybe some liberation of your self-expression. And this is a Uranus in your second, which is helping you free up your sense of self-worth, your values, and enjoy the simple pleasures of life. And that's been something that I think can continue to create that sense of freedom for you. And let's not forget, this is your modern day ruler. So over many years, there's been a lot of focus, I think, on your sense of self-worth, on your values. And I think these are great things to cultivate and to try new things with on Friday. Could be maybe getting that rest, that good meal, that hot bath, whatever it is that really connects to your senses and really helps you access what you really enjoy in life. So then over the weekend, the sun is going to be conjoining up to Neptune. So that's going to be really activating that, Neptunian energy over the weekend. So I think it's a great weekend for maybe some reflection, going within, again, that sensitivity, particularly with self, and really relaxing into the unknown of that self, which is being transformed and, spiritualized with this Neptune in the first. All right, Aquarius, so have a great week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next week.